It was probably Tuesday. You were waiting for the podcast to hit your feed, and it didn't, and you probably yelled at us. Sorry, it's the summertime. We're going down to one a week. We're actually behind the curtain a little bit. We're pre-recording all these.
Oh, are we actually admitting that?
We are.
Okay.
We're admitting that. Roob, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. At least I am at the point where we're recording it. I can't speak for...
No, how are you on June 18th?
Not too good.
This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. It is summertime. We have a bunch of vacation days to use, and this is the only time of year we can use them. But like we do every year, we don't want to leave our listeners high and dry for the summer. So we want to give you something. So over the next few weeks...
What does that mean, high and dry? Where did that come from?
Is it a boat thing? High and dry?
I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that to you guys. So we have a bunch of pods coming out over the next few weeks. We're going to drop them on Wednesday. We're going to split the difference between our Tuesday and Thursday schedule. The idiom high and dry originates from nautical terms referring to a ship that is run aground or is in a dry dock, stranded and unable to move. It makes sense. That's kind of what I thought it was.
Yeah, I got the exact same AI blurb that you did. The literal description of a ship stranded on dry land, unable to float or be moved. That's horrible.
Yeah. So we didn't want you guys to be a ship unable to float.
We basically don't want our listeners to be a shipwreck.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's nice of us.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of pods dropping throughout the summer. And then, of course, for training camp, we're going full bore. We're going to have podcasts every single day the Eagles practice. So if you're like, man, I'm going to miss you guys in the summer, you'll be sick of us by the time late July rolls around.
You'll no longer be high and dry.
Exactly.
You'll be low and wet.
All right. Let's take some questions. We're going to do a mailbag today. So if, as always, if you have questions for us, eagle-eye at NBCUni.com, QR code on the screen. Thanks for all the questions. You're doing half the work for us here. And we got a bunch of them. So we'll have a good variety, good stuff to get to. The first one is from Joe. Love the show. Thanks for your in-depth analysis of Dallas Goedert's contract and the rationale behind Cam's contract extension. Now that the immediate contract concerns seem to be resolved for this offseason, I'm curious what you think about Jalen Carter's contract extension, how he almost never lets players of Jalen's caliber walk out the door. How much will it cost to keep him an Eagle, and when do you think that extension will happen? Assuming that Q and Cooper continue their progression, do the Eagles' future salary needs play a role in that discussion? Keep up the great work.
Yeah, he's not going to let Jalen Carter walk.
No.
It's just not going to happen. It's going to be a big one, though. He'll be the highest paid interior lineman in history when he does sign it. Not for long.
It's the way contracts work, yeah.
But he will be. That's going to be a huge number.
Yeah, it's going to be over $30 million a year. There's only one defensive tackle in the league making that right now, and that's Chris Jones. But Milton Williams got 26 a year.
Yeah,
we're talking about a massive number, and it's not like Howie's going to wake up. And by the way, so you can extend a player after their third season.
A drafted player.
Thank you. Yes, you can extend a drafted player after their third season. So Jalen Carter will be eligible after the 2025 season, actually after the end of the regular season. So if Howie wanted, he would, like, Eagles are in the playoffs, he could extend Jalen Carter. He wouldn't do that, but he could. And at some point next offseason, as long as Carter has the year we expect him to have, and there's not a massive injury or something like that, he's going to pay the man.
I mean, if Milton got $26 million a year, I mean, what are we talking about here?
35?
Close to 40?
It's going to be huge. And it's not like Howie's going to wake up next March and all of a sudden be, oh my God, I got to pay Jalen Carter. This is, I think from the time you draft a player of that caliber, you're starting to think about the extension. And certainly this offseason, the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade, when it happened and the Eagles are talking about the salary and looking ahead, I think the biggest chip to fall eventually is Jalen Carter and making sure you're able to sign that guy and not blink at it.
Yeah, and it's part of Howie's job. Like, there's not a lot going on as far as signing right now. He works on these contracts so far in advance, and like, you're not going to know the exact numbers because it's going to depend on other contracts. But there's no question he's got a folder on his desk that says Jalen Carter contract. And
although, like, you can really start to do the legwork because you're going to have a chance to extend him before free agency next season. So it's not like there's going to be a bunch of new contracts before then.
No, that's true. That is true. I'm sure he's got a sense of what it's going to take. And there's no law against him talking to his agent and just trying to get a sense of, what they're thinking and what structure and bonus money and all that stuff.
And he's a Rosenhaus guy, if I'm correct. So it's plenty of deals have been done between the Eagles and Drew Rosenhaus.
Yeah, I think Howie's got a good relationship with Drew and his people.
Yeah. So that's a massive one. But we talk so much about the Jalen Carter contract because it is going to be huge. That Nolan Smith contract is not going to be anything to sneeze at either.
Yeah, if he is what we think he is. I mean, if he's in that, if he gets to that 12 to 14 sack range, which I think is possible. Yeah. I mean, Josh Sweat you look at Josh Sweat's contract and what do you have? 8 sacks last year? So
Sweat's over 19 a year. You have 4 edge rushers over 30 a year. So actually a higher paid position than defensive tackle.
Right.
Now, is Nolan Smith to edge rusher as Jalen Carter is to defensive tackle?
Not quite.
Probably not quite, but he's still really good.
He's also doesn't have as much body of work. And Jalen Carter's big leap was in his second year as a second year. So, he could get there.
I think
it wouldn't shock me. I mean, it would not shock me if Nolan Smith has a 15 sack season.
Yeah. Honestly. And then you're talking like, what's the floor? 20 mil a year? It's still going to be a massive payday. And it's a big contract they're going to have to figure out.
And then you have Blankenship in there. It's not going to be a huge one, but
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't been done already.
Yeah.
Because I think that, and maybe by the time you're listening to this, he'll have one, because I don't think the numbers will be that big. He brings stability to your secondary. I think he'd probably be thrilled to have any kind of significant contract because he hasn't had that yet.
No, he hasn't.
I feel like that's an easy one to work out.
You would think.
Right?
Well, congratulations, Reed, on your new contract, if you have indeed gotten one.
We should record a bunch of possibilities and just get them ready.
We could record like a couple emergency podcasts in case different things happen.
I like that. All right. Next question is from Doug. Hey guys, longtime lover of the pod, especially when it comes as a breath of fresh air in the dog days of summer. Guess what? We're here. You were talking about how many right guards Lane Johnson has played next to on the OTAs pod. And I was thinking it would be a cool off-season piece to go through and rank all of the right guards who have gotten at least one start next to Lane during his career. Keep up the good work. Now, I've done some legwork here, Rube. There are 13.
I think I listed them in an OBS recently.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I went through and I had them ranked, not in terms of skill, but in terms of how many starts they've had next to Lane.
Okay. I'm gonna rank them.
Okay. So how do you want me to do this? Just run down how many starts they have?
Go through starts.
Okay, so the most starts next to Lane, Brandon Brooks at 55.
Right.
Todd Harriman's 21. And this is including playoffs, by the way.
Okay.
Mekhi Becton, 19. Isaac Seumalo, 18. Matt Tobin, 13. Cam Jurgens, 11. Andrew Gardner, 9. Nate Herbig, 6. Jack Driscoll, 6. Sua Opeta, 6. Matt Pryor, 5. Tyler Steen, 2. Landon Dickerson, 1.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Which is like, he's going to screw up your rankings. I don't know what you do with him.
Yeah.
Because obviously he would have been really good if he played right guard next to Lane.
I'll have him number 1. Now, obviously, Brandon Brooks would be number 1. Um, I think the first three might be the first four. I'll put Isaac ahead of Becton. I'll put Isaac third. I think Isaac was really good. I think he was really solid. He was more consistent than Becton. So I'll go Brooks, Harrimans, Isaac, Becton. I'll put Landon in with his one start in fifth.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing.
What do you do with him?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Cam next. Cam was solid at right guard. He's better.
Yeah, and he got banged up that year.
Yeah. Boy, then it gets slim pickings. I think I'm going Sewell next. I've always been a fan of Sewell. I think
Sewell over Herbig.
Yeah, Sewell over Herbig. In fact, I'm going to put Pryor ahead of Herbig too. I'll go Sewell, Pryor, Herbie, Steen, Driscoll. Then it comes down to Matt Tobin.
Driscoll was actually on a roll that 1 year, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, he played pretty well.
Yeah, just not a tackle.
Yeah. I do not remember how Andrew Gardner played in the early 2010s.
I'm going to still put him ahead of Matt Tobin. Gardner and then Tobin.
Eagles traded Matt Tobin.
They got something for him?
Mm-hmm. Traded him to Seattle.
Okay. That's a good question, though. I wonder if Blaine could name them all. I remember I once asked Jason Kelsey if he could name all the guards who started a game next to him. He missed like 12 of them. But he's got a pretty good memory.
That's tough. He's got two sides, and Lane's only got to worry about the right guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many will Lane get of the 13?
I bet he'd get most of them. I'll bet if you give him enough time, he'd probably get all of them. He might not get Andrew Gardner.
He might not get Landon.
He might not get Landon.
Because it's just like it was a one game thing. He probably doesn't even think about the possibility of playing next to Landon.
Or he might just look around the room and
see Landon.
Oh yeah, Landon started that one game.
Landon happens to walk by and it changes it. Yeah. Man, him and Brandon Brooks had something special together.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he hasn't been able to find that guy after that.
Yeah, well, he's got a chance. Pryor. Again.
Okay.
Whoever it is.
You're really on the Matt Pryor thing. Huh?
It's going to be interesting to see how he's drafted so well in the O-line, whether there is another in the line of Camden and Landon. Camden and Landon? Cam and Landon and Camden.
They're one person.
A guy from Camden. Yeah. Mike Rozier. They're going to draft Mike Rozier. But if
there actually was a Camden guard in the draft this year.
Yeah.
The LSU kid.
Yeah, there was. So maybe he's the guy. But no, it'll be interesting to see if they try to find a way to stop this kind of revolving door at right guard.
I don't think so, honestly, because they're not going to ever pay that position.
Yeah, but if you draft a guy,
then
you don't have to worry about that for at least a few years. And the third round's fertile for how he does well there with these guys.
It is cool though, because Lane had Brandon Brooks all those years, and now Jordan Mailata has Landon Dickerson. It's very similar. Just those two kind of move as one.
Yeah. I wonder how Brandon's doing. Do you talk to him at all? Do you hear from him?
I haven't talked to him in a while. No, he was living in New York, working for Goldman Sachs, having two careers better than all of our careers.
Good dude,
smart dude. Played really well for a long time here.
Yeah.
All right, that was fun. It was fun going through that.
Yeah.
Some of those names, I was like, man, Matt Tobin played that many games next to Lane.
Yeah, not ideal.
Next one from Scott. Hey guys, just wanted to follow up on the Cooper DeJean question and the presser when we learned he was working on the outside. Have we looked at this wrong the whole time, and will Cooper be the CB2 instead of the slot? What are your thoughts on this? And do the Eagles have someone else who can play inside? Maybe Keeley or Adoree? Thoughts?
I think Adoree's more of a slot than Keeley, but I don't think there's a reason to make Cooper the full-time outside corner just because he's so good in the slot. And if you put him outside when teams are in base, you still have him on the field. But I don't think you gain anything by having him out there all the time because he's going to be playing. So you have him. I mean, I think he'd be a really, really good outside corner, but I also think they probably have better options for a full-time outside corner too than a slot.
Yeah, I think a good way to look at this is just like rank their corners in terms of who's good, right? So you start with Quignon is the top guy, then Cooper. Who's the next best corner? Either way, it's an outside corner.
Right.
It's Keeley or Adoree Jackson. Because the guy who's been working, or the guy who worked in the spring as a second team nickel, is Perry Nickerson. Who's a veteran, I think could probably give them decent snaps if he needed to, but I'm not even sure he's going to be on the team right now.
Right. The second slot is it's kind of an interesting.
I think it's going to end up being McWilliams.
Could be.
He was getting some work there in the spring, and he kind of has the body type to play inside. Mostly played outside in college, but especially at UCF. But UAB played some inside. He went to the Senior Bowl, played some inside and outside reps, both in team drills and in one-on-ones. So like the Eagles saw him there, and he's sub 6 foot, which is, unfortunately you put him in the likely nickel bucket because of that.
The nickel bucket. Yeah. A lot of questions in that secondary. It's going to be a daily topic at camp.
It will be. Bo. Hey, Reuben Dave. It feels weird looking at the Eagles as they're currently constructed compared to the Super Bowl team just 3 months ago. With that in mind, as time goes by, who do you think will be the player that causes people to say, oh yeah, that guy was on the Super Bowl team when discussing the 24 season? Would it be someone like Millen, who has the potential to build his legacy with another team, or someone like Bradbury, who's so much more remembered for the 22 team than the fall off in 23?
So what player who's no longer here will we
kind of forget was on the Super Bowl team?
It's a weird question, but I like it.
So it's funny because in the 17th...
Kenny Gainwell.
Oh.
They'll be like, remember him? Remember he was here? Was he here for the Super? Yeah, I think I could see that.
That makes sense. I think back to 17, and the guys who I always kind of laugh about are the late additions who ended up on the roster for the game.
Right.
Do you remember
Donnell Ellerbe?
Donnell Ellerbe was one. There was also a tackle.
Oh, tackle?
Mm-hmm.
Initials?
WB.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy. I can't think of his name. Yeah.
Will Beatty.
Will Beatty. Yeah, Beatty. He'd been with the Giants?
Yep.
Or the 49ers. Yeah. No, that's a fun question. It could be like, yeah. I'm like Lewis Seen. He goes somewhere, and I mean, he's here now, but like
he's just, he didn't even play.
He was here.
Yeah.
That's a fun question.
Mm-hmm. The 22 team would have been fun to go through that too. There were some, like Linval Joseph would have been a great one. Like he was on that team when they won.
Right.
Yeah. That's fun to think about.
Yeah.
All right. Next one from Reggie. First off, hats off to Dave for suggesting Huff to the Niners. Thank you. Now that Nick has been extended, I wanted to get your 2 opinions about his future and longevity. Do you think he'll be a lifer like Mike Tomlin? Will he be the Eagles head coach longer than Andy was? Or will he be out much sooner than both? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
I was just thinking about this actually in the last few days. Like how long can he do this?
I always thought Nick was going to have like a short shelf life as coach just because he's so much. Like he kind of to the wall all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe he would burn out. But when you're having the level of success that he's having, it extends that shelf life.
Yeah. I can't imagine anybody these days coaching as long as Andy, 14 years. But then he didn't even take a break. And how long has he been with the Chiefs now?
Yeah.
His 13th year?
It's crazy.
Has anybody ever coached a decade for 2 different teams? Probably not, right? Look that up. But I just can't see him. And you're right. Like, I don't know about his life-work balance and like how out of whack it is. I mean, he's always at the facility.
I mean, there are times during the middle of the season where you're like, Nick, you got to get like sleep in a bed, not in your office.
On your chair. Yeah. In your chair, I guess it would be. Yeah, you worry about him. I mean, Andy was the same way. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, we know that.
He wouldn't go home for days. But he's found a way to make it work. I mean, he's 27th year doing it.
It is hard to imagine Nick lasting that long, but like, man, they're in such a, like the health of the organization is amazing right now. The organization has never been healthier.
It's true.
It just in terms of the skill level, the coaching staff, the youth, and all the assets. I mean, it's hard to find a healthier organization.
Yeah, I think I made this point on a pod a few weeks ago, sometime, that to Fletcher Cox, where's he rank among all-time Eagles interior linemen? I mean,
2?
Behind.
We're talking interior linemen?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, 1 or 2?
I mean, Jerome and Fletcher, I mean.
They'd be on your all-time team.
Kelsey is first ballot Hall of Famer. And BG, maybe not up to that level, but a really important player on this team and made the biggest defensive play, second biggest defensive play in history. Got to put Bednarik, 1960 NFL championship game, probably ahead of him. As it won the game. It was the last play of the game. Jim Taylor. But all 3 of those guys retired in the last 2 years, and they're still Super Bowl favorites. That's mind-blowing to me. You lost 3 all-time great Eagles, and they're still Super Bowl favorites. That tells you just how healthy this roster and this franchise is. It's incredible. And
players who were like playing well too. Yeah. It wasn't like they were just here to be out front and be the face. Like they're playing really well.
Yeah, it's true. Crazy.
All right, next one is from.
So, but to answer the question, I think it'll be. I don't think it'll be 10. I don't think he'll be. Although he's going into 5. I don't think it'll be as long as Andy, but I don't.
The 23 season was just so weird. Like, is it possible one of those pops up in the next 5 years? Like, yeah.
Yeah, but like then he didn't have a ring.
True.
Yeah.
So what's I'll put the over under at 9.5.
Total.
Yeah, not more.
I'm going to take the over. I think 10's a good number.
You just talked your way into that.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
Man.
That's 5 more years. Imagine that emergency podcast. He's just like out of the blue. I was like, yeah, I'm done.
I think it's over and 2.
You'll be at
and maybe that's just we're in the afterglow of a Super Bowl and it's hard to imagine it. But like, yeah, things could go poorly. They went poorly for Doug.
But it wasn't set up for him to succeed
to this level.
Yeah.
And I think the organization screwed him in a little way. Like the organization's health was not up to this level after Doug won the Super Bowl. And they made a lot of mistakes that I think they're learning from now with how they're constructing the roster.
Yeah. And I think Doug wasn't, was a little bit of that too with his coach, his staff construction.
Yeah. Certainly not as willing to bend to the organization as Nick has been.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like it's a negative thing. That's not.
It's not, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the organization knows what it's doing. Sometimes it's good to keep your job.
Yeah. But also Doug's staff ideas weren't ideal either. So,
but sometimes the ideas for his staff weren't ideal either.
That's fair.
Here's Rich Scangarella. Figure it out.
That's totally fair.
From Zach. Hey, Dave and Roob. Zach again from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Love Appleton.
I can take your slander of my hometown area because you're right. There isn't much tourist spots up here, but I won't take your slander of Russell Wilson. You make it sound that the Steelers lost their last.
Wait, who slandered Appleton? I'm going to retire in Appleton. I love Appleton.
I think we're probably just saying in terms of cities with like things to do, there probably wasn't as much to do there as
But
other
I don't
cities.
want to do things when I retire. I just want to sit on the porch. There's this one little neighborhood. It's got all these old homes with wraparound porches. Man, it's beautiful.
I like a good porch.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make it sound that the Steelers lost their last 5 of 7 regular season games because of Russ when that great defense allowed around 27 points per game during that stretch. The Steelers' offense wasn't built to score those kinds of points. Their top receiver in many eyes was a number 2 receiver at best, currently number 2 in Dallas. And Najee Harris is not really a feature back for a team that wanted to run the ball first. That offensive line was also pretty bad. So when that defense started giving up points, it's no wonder they started losing.
What did we say about Russell Wilson?
I'm just saying the hate you're giving Russ is unwarranted from my viewpoint. No question here, just a little rant defending one of my favorite players. Have a good day.
Wait a minute. What did we say about Russell Wilson?
I don't know. It was probably when we ranked the
opposing
quarterbacks. I had him pretty low.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think he was where he belongs.
I kind of agree with that.
When's the last time he won a playoff game?
Been a while.
2019?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Please don't get that wrong. I don't even want another email from Zach.
He's with his 4th team in 5 years.
Besmirch the good name of Russell Wilson.
It was 2019. Yeah. He's still okay. He was better in Denver than people give him credit for.
I think he's like a whatever quarterback.
Yeah.
Right now. He was obviously really good at one point.
Yeah. Gosh, he was, from like 2012 to 2020 or so. He was as good as anything.
And it's possible I'm speaking out of turn. I didn't watch a ton of Steelers last year.
Well, he's never been a first-team All-Pro, which I wonder if that'll hurt his Hall of Fame chances. Is he a slam dunk?
No.
1-1, got to 2.
Not a slam dunk. I think I'll get him.
Career passer rating under 100, 99.9. I don't think he's going to go up this year. I don't think he's helping himself. All right.
Next question is from Manav. Hey, Reuben, Dave. Hope this question puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. Given his massive workload last season, Saquon may need to be utilized more efficiently this upcoming season. At the same time, I think Jalen will be heading into this year as confident as he's ever been as an NFL passer. Do you predict we will see a more pass-heavy offense, especially early in the year, or return to last year's game plan?
It's going to be one of the big questions that we kind of won't know till they get started. I think if they can make this running game work like it did last year, then there's no reason to throw 40 times a game. But I think there's a reason to believe that won't be the case. History and trends, and it's just hard to do what he did 1 year, much less 2.
I think there's going to be like some natural regression to the mean.
Yeah, you would think. So I think they'll probably have to pass 3 or 4 times more a game.
Another element of this, on the last pod, we were talking about their tough schedule. I don't know if they're going to have as many leads, like big leads, to kind of run out the clock, and that skews the numbers over the course of a 17-game season. So
true,
you might need to pass a little bit more. Just the balance might not get out of whack at times.
And I think A.J. Dillon's an interesting guy too, because I think if he can be the guy he was for a couple of years in Green Bay, it can take some pressure off. Like I think with Gainwell or Boston Scott, whoever they've had, I don't know if you want them to be part of the game plan. Like obviously Boston Scott wasn't here with Saquon, but just as that number 2 back. But I think if Dillon is the player he was for a couple of years in Green Bay, then you kind of game plan, all right, let's just give him 5 carries a game and try to manage Saquon's workload that way. But then you're taking Saquon off the field, but you don't want him to have 25 touches a game. So I think Dillon's an interesting guy. I think if he is what he was those years, which is a big question mark, maybe you go into it saying like, let's just it's not going to be 50-50, but let's give him a few carries.
I don't know if he's going to factor in to that level.
I don't either. But I'm saying if he is the player he was, those
I actually think Will Shipley is going to be there too.
Could be. I mean, it very well could be. I'm just saying if.
Okay.
Because I don't think Shipley would rise to that level. And I like Shipley. I think he'll be more of a receiving back. Like maybe he's going to be a good runner. We saw one really good run against a team that quit.
Where would you have him on the Kenny G scale?
The musician?
Yeah.
Shipley as a runner?
Yeah, as both. Like, do you see him in the mold of a Kenny Gainwell?
I see Shipley as like a Keith Byers, like really, really good receiver.
I love that you go back to Keith Byers.
But like, I'm trying to think of like an Eagles running back who was a better receiver than a runner.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's possible he'll have more catches than runs.
Okay.
I think he's a really good receiver.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. And I'm not sure he's more than just an average. I could be wrong. It's just the sense I've gotten.
Okay. All right, let's take a little break. More questions coming up on the other side.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
We are back on the Eagle Eye Podcast. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Hope everyone is enjoying themselves in the summer. Maybe you're listening to this on the beach. Maybe you're taking a little bike ride. Maybe you're on vacation. That's fun.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of bike riding at the shore?
Oh, yeah. Me and my beach cruiser.
Beach cruiser?
Oh, yeah. Not riding like a road bike down there. It's beach cruiser. Have a little cup holder on there.
Got to have the cup holder.
Yeah. My mom's bike has a basket. So if I ever like need to run up to the grocery store or something like that, I take my mom's bike. That way I have the basket.
What's in the cup holder when you're out on a bike ride?
If it's the morning, coffee. Yep.
What if it's the afternoon or evening?
Let's not talk about it.
Well, you going vodka tonic?
Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
Because that wouldn't be legal. All right. Next question comes from Ray. I understand why people think Penei Sewell is a great right tackle. I just don't understand why the consensus around the league is that he's better than Lane Johnson when looking at the advanced stats, not to mention the respect of his peers. Lane is by far the best right tackle currently in the game. How is this even a debate? Is this a classic case of they hate us because they ain't us?
I think Sewell's really, really good, but I think most people just don't take the time to look at those advanced stats. And Lane had him posted on his locker. That wasn't his doing, but yeah.
And it's not like Penei Sewell's not deserving. He's a great player. Is Lane better? I think so.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm also watching a lot more Lane than Sewell.
True. Yeah. I mean, I voted for Lane for All-Pro. I voted for Sewell last year. I thought Sewell was a little better than Lane. But, yeah, you have to go – if you're going to vote for that stuff, you've got to go deeper than just sacks allowed or whatever and just kind of, go through the whole thing. I just hope it doesn't cost Lane a shot at Canton. Just not – I guess he's been an All-Pro twice, first team.
I can look that up for you.
I don't know how many – have won 2 Super Bowls and been a first teamer and 6 Pro Bowls. I mean, he's
2-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team, which obviously doesn't carry as much weight, but it's not nothing.
What's the Hall of Fame monitors say about Lane Johnson? Hall of Fame monitors are really valuable too. Do you kind of consult with that a lot?
I've looked at it.
Has Lane at 61.25, that's surprisingly low for two Super Bowls, 2 All-Pro first teams, and 6 Pro Bowls, 11 years as a starter. Ahead of a couple Hall of Famers, ahead of Jackie Slater. But the average for a Hall of Famer is 95. They assign a point rating based on your achievements. Sometimes it's hard to make sense of how they come up with the numbers.
I mean, this also has Trent Williams way below that average. And Trent is like a no doubt about it Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
So like this needs to be updated here. Like,
Yeah, they need to do something with the formula, and the formula is proprietary. So
this also has Tyron Smith ahead of Trent Williams, which isn't the way this works. Has Jason Peters way up there.
Jason Peters is, I believe, the highest non-Hall of Famer, other than Jim Tyrer, who is non-football reasons. Yeah, there's some oddities in there. JP still won't be eligible for. He was still playing 2 years ago.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, I love talking Hall of Fame. We should get more Hall of Fame questions.
I mean, we get a lot.
Do we?
Decent amount.
Okay.
All right. Next one is from Don. Hey guys, longtime fan and subscriber here. I never miss a pod. My question is, what do you think about Cooper DeJean moving to outside corner, Andrew Makuba, Mac McWilliams, or Sidney Brown in the slot, and either Andrew Makuba or Sidney Brown at safety, depending on how good Brown or Makuba look at slot/safety? Not that I'm not sold on Keely Ringo, but if he or Eli Ricks aren't performing up to the standard, what do you think about taking this approach? That's a lot of moving pieces there. Did you catch all that?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't listening.
Well, that doesn't help. Okay.
No, I was. Yeah, and again, I think Cooper would be a fine outside corner. I think he's so valuable in the slot, and it's not like slot is a less important position anymore. I mean, it's just as important as outside corner.
It's time for the pay scale to show that.
True, but I mean, gosh, you're on the field. I mean, how many snaps? I think Vic threw that out there in his presser, like how many snaps they were in base last year. Was it 160 or something?
On the dot, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about, does that include the postseason? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're talking about eight a game?
And it went down quite a bit in the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah. He's just talking about 8 snaps a game. I mean, it's important that he doesn't leave the field this year. But I just don't. I think that you're a better pass defense. You're a better secondary with him in the slot and Keely or whoever it is. If it's Eli Ricks or if it's Dory Jackson, you're better that way than the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And I like the thinking here. You're getting outside the box. Like, what about Makuba in the slot? He played a little bit in college. What about Mac McWilliams in the slot? But he's a rookie 4th round pick. What about Sidney Brown in the slot? Maybe against certain teams with a big slot receiver, I could see that he did a little bit of that in the 23 season. So I like the thought process here, but we know Cooper DeJean is excellent inside, and I think he'd be good outside. Is he going to be as good an outside corner as he was a nickel corner? Unlikely, I think.
Probably unlikely. And it's not like being in the slot's a demotion or a lesser position. Mm-hmm.
And all those options you mention at nickel, to me, are not as good as Keely Ringo on the outside. And I know what you're saying here, that the premise of the question was you get to camp and Keely Ringo is not it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen either.
Yeah. And I think the same goes for whoever, whether it's Ricks, whether it's Dory, whoever you have out there, you're going to be better with that setup than the other way.
Mm-hmm. Although I do think Cooper DeJean is going to be good as an outside corner. I think
he'd be fine. Yeah.
What do you, I just want to get there too. Vic talking about Cooper potentially as a safety in the base package. I agree with Vic. Like, he would be a good safety.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about the idea of moving safety to nickel versus corner to nickel.
Safety and nickel probably have as much in common as slot and
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, but I mean, he does all the things you want a safety to do. I mean, he's just so versatile and so talented.
And Vic brought that up for a reason.
Oh yeah,
like when Vic talks, you listen because he means it. And if there's a chance that other safety who's not Reed Blankenship, whether it's Makuba or Sidney Brown, is your weakest link, and Keely Ringo's really good, and you're like, why are we messing with this guy? Why are we moving him around? Let him stay on the field. That does make sense too.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really seen.
No, I think it would be a little different in terms of like different, like you're in a different position meeting. Like,
Yeah.
you got to figure that stuff out.
Right.
But I think Cooper DeJean could do it.
Yeah. And a lot of their meetings are the whole secondary, the whole defense. So there's that. But yeah, he could do it. I have more faith in. Yeah, he could do it. He could do anything. It's really remarkable what a season he had. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing what he did last year.
His popularity is crazy too.
It's insane.
He's like a Beatle.
He is. He really is. I gave Saquon a hard time the other day because he didn't have him on his basketball team, his top 5. I'm like, what are you doing? Have you seen him? He's like, yeah, I had never seen him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you don't see that, but yeah, I mean, I think I told this after the Eagles autism challenge on our next podcast. I mean, Kelsey was there, BG was there, Jalen was there, but like all the kids were screaming when Cooper DeJean went by. It was
the NFLPA put out their top 50 in terms of like licensed gear, which includes jerseys and everything else that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 was Saquon Barkley. Number 3 was Jalen Hurts. Cooper DeJean was on the list.
Where was he about? Do you remember?
I can look it up for you. I knew you were going to ask that. Let me find it real quick, because he, like, for the second round pick to be on there and not the first round pick, like, he's a more popular player than Quinyon.
Yeah, and
which doesn't like mean he's a better player, but he's
no, and Quinyon's probably a better player, but it's close. But Quinyon's personality, he's just a quiet guy. He doesn't. I mean, Cooper's really visible. He's everywhere.
He was 42.
Okay. Still, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. The other Eagles on that list, A.J. Brown at 24.
So Jalen was 3?
Yeah, Saquon 1, Jalen Hurts 2, A.J. Brown 24.
Jalen was 2.
What did I say?
I thought you said 3.
It was 3. No, it was 3. Did I say 2?
You just said 2.
Okay.
Who was 2?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
So Saquon 1, Jalen 3.
So who's the highest Eagles defensive player on there? Was it Coop?
Kind of going through the list. Let me go through the list. Yeah. It was Saquon 1, Jalen 3.
I thought you said 2. Okay, go ahead.
Make one mistake in like an hour-long podcast. A.J. Brown 24, Devontae Smith 29.
Oh, interesting.
Cooper DeJean 42.
Because Devontae's a quiet guy too, and
he's very popular.
He should be. I mean, I still think he's always scratching the surface. He still hasn't had that like.
Very funny moment on the final day of the spring when he was asked where the dagger ranks among his career catches, and he goes top 3. He's had so many huge catches in his career.
Yeah,
going back to college too.
Yeah, he just hasn't had like that 1,300-yard season, but it's there. I mean, it's tough because Goddard's getting his, obviously AJ's getting his, but he's so capable of having, Pro Bowl type season. He hasn't yet.
Yeah, but the only defender on a number 1 defense was the rookie second round pick.
That's crazy.
Which also kind of probably speaks to how much of a team effort it was.
Yeah. I mean,
they didn't have like that star pass rusher.
I mean, Zach Ball would be the only other guy. He wasn't on there at all.
But he was also on a 1-year deal. So if you're a fan buying a jersey.
Do fans think like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
You're not going to get a contract of a guy on a 1-year deal?
A jersey?
Okay, yeah, jersey.
Yeah, you don't get his contract either.
No, you're not going to get a contract of a 1-year jersey.
Of course fans think like that. You're trying to buy a jersey that has a little shelf life.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe the opposite of a shelf life. You don't want it on the shelf. If it's on the shelf for the rest of its career, it means he's probably not here.
Yeah, but you got to put it somewhere. I guess you could hang it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you don't want to be left high and dry with an old jersey.
That's why, like, you walk around the Wells Fargo Center, a lot of Mitchkoff jerseys.
There is no Wells Fargo Center.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone.
The Xfinity Mobile Center?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you walk around the X you see the Mitchkov jerseys. You're trying to get a player who's going to be here for a long time. The nice thing about winning the Super Bowl, though, is any player who was on that team, you can pretty much wear that jersey.
Yeah, fair.
I know you love jersey talk. So anything else you want to?
Like New Jersey talk.
You know, it's funny. Whenever I write like New Jersey numbers, autocorrect changes it to uppercase New Jersey.
I'm getting sick of autocorrect. I feel like it changes more correct things to incorrect.
I like the idea of your battle with our robot overlords.
Yeah, that could come up in the pet peeve show.
I like that. Next one from Evan. With many of the prominent defensive leaders leaving over the past couple of years, who do you feel will play this role going forward? I feel like Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith are examples that come to mind. However, with Nakobe's future in doubt, who else will step into this role? Do you think it affects their draft strategy going forward / the veterans they could potentially bring in? And then we also have a non-football question for you.
I think Nolan, just by how much he talks and his energy, I think he's kind of got those qualities. I think Cooper does as well. I think Reed Blankenship does.
I think Reed is the obvious answer.
He's been around the longest, which is crazy.
At the ripe old age of 26.
Yeah. I think
Zach Bond
certainly. I think Jordan Davis has, he got people look up to him because of his,
Yeah, I mean, he's the old guy in the defensive line room.
He is. It's crazy.
Was last year too.
It's crazy how, there's no defensive player that played for Doug Peterson. Not one. That wasn't that long ago. The entire defense has turned over, actually since 21. Nobody was on the 21 team. How's that possible?
They drafted.
I know how it's possible. It was rhetorical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Zach Bond actually talked about it on the last day of spring practices.
It's not easy for him.
Yeah, it's a lot of his comfort zone, but you can tell it's something that he wants to do.
Yeah.
Like he's thinking about it, like actively how to be a leader now that guys are looking up to him in that defense.
Yeah.
And I think naturally when you have a green dot, it kind of comes with the territory, and he had the green dot in the playoffs last year.
He did. Interesting.
Yeah. I know sometimes the leadership talk gets a little tiresome. Like we go overboard with it, or people go overboard with it. But I thought it was just fascinating to hear Zach Bond go into the depths of figuring out what kind of leader he wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say that. It was really cool. I haven't heard a guy really talk in such detail about how he's trying to find his way in that piece of it. And he understands it's important. He's just trying to figure it out right now.
I've always talked to, when a player comes from a different team and they maybe were a leader, like how they figure out their role on this team. And that's always fascinating to me.
Mm.
Like Saquon kind of just came in day one. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm going to follow me.
Yeah.
But there are other guys who have come here who haven't really known exactly. The one that comes to mind was Michael Bennett. I remember talking to him about how do you fit in a new locker room? And it took him a while. I don't know if he ever really did, to be honest with you, but it's kind of a fascinating dynamic when you're an established player coming into a locker room that's also established.
Sounds like a good think piece for the summer.
Nah, I don't want to think much in the summer. Next one.
Well, you said there was a
music question. Yes, I'm sorry. I also thought I would ask Roob's opinion on Luther Johnson. I feel like his song "Lonesome in My Bedroom" is one of the most underrated blues songs I have heard. Fenton Robinson as well.
I don't know that.
Okay. I don't either. I'll give a listen. All right. Thank you for reminding me of that. Next one from Rance. My question is this. With our lack of talent in the edge room and a strong surplus of inside linebackers on the roster, wouldn't it make sense to put Jahad Campbell on the edge rotation and let guys like Trotter and maybe even Smile Mondon get good early reps on the inside? I think it'd be our best look at the best 11 on the field.
I wouldn't say there's a lack of talent there. I think there's question marks, but I think they've got some talent, and I think it's too early. And I think the reason Jahad is working with, I think Vic talked about this, it's harder to learn. inside linebacker than edge. So you're going to go where you got more work to do. And it doesn't mean he's not going to line up as an edge at times. I think he will. But, I mean, I think look, there's a reason he is where he is. They like him there, and they want him to learn as much as possible at that position. And if there's a time where, hey, let's get him some work at edge, then they'll do it. But I wouldn't say there's a lack of talent there, a lack of proven talent maybe. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's talent there, but there are question marks. And it is funny to talk about a surplus of inside linebackers with this team because we know the history at the position in the last decade or so. But
3 decades, maybe.
Yeah. It's something to think about down the line because in the interim, I really do think they're going to need Jihad Campbell at inside linebacker. I think you're obvious here, but you're much better off with him on the field than even a Trotter or a Smile Mondin. And that's not a knock on those guys. I think Trott is going to give them a nice fallback option, but the upside is there with Campbell, and you'd rather have him on the field, especially when you don't know when Cooper DeJean's going to be back.
You're getting a little worried about Nakobe, and I mean, we knew it was going to go into the season, but
I don't feel any differently about it.
Okay.
Why would you? Did you expect to see him this spring?
No, just the way Vic talked. No, I didn't expect him to see him this spring. I didn't expect him to see him at the start of the season. Yeah. But just the way Vic said, "Oh, he's a long way off." Or I guess we knew that.
Yeah, I mean, Vic's thinking about training camp.
Yeah.
My opinion, or not my opinion, I don't have an opinion on it, but my thoughts on Nakobe and the recovery haven't changed. I think it's likely he starts the season on PUP, and then you hope to get him back mid-year.
I hope so. I think that would be a win for him if he's back.
And then if he's back and healthy, then I think we open the discussion about Jihad Campbell on the field, whether you go 3 linebackers, whether you have Campbell kind of on the edge as an overhang. That's when you start to explore those options.
But also when Nakobe does come back, it's not like he all of a sudden give him 90 snaps a game anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll take care of itself.
90.
70.
We'll finish with this one from Stylish Karma.
It's from who?
Stylish Karma. I think that's not a name, but a moniker.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's a name. Hello, guys. Karma. I always look forward to the pod. My question is, if Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean continue to perform as well as they have been for the foreseeable future, when the time comes to sign them to a new deal, will the Eagles be able to afford to keep them both? Appreciate all you do for us Birds fans.
I mean, that's a couple years off. Howie does not lose guys. He just doesn't. He'll figure it out.
That he prioritizes.
Right. I'll be surprised if they're not both here long term.
Same. And the nice thing about them is you can stagger them if you want, because you have the 5th year with Quinyon Mitchell as a first round pick. But they're already planning for this. It's kind of like when we talked about Jalen Carter. You're planning on the extension at some point. It's not going to be a surprise when you wake up after their 3rd NFL seasons and you have to pay Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Like, this is a part of the plan. It's not easy, but you think about these things as you're building a roster.
True. This is the curse of drafting so well.
Yeah, you got to keep all these guys, and you can't.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like that as a place to end for today. If you have a question for us, we won't get to them for a while, obviously, because we're on vacation, but you can send it, eagle@nbcuni.com. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Roob, any final thoughts?
No, I do want to know what's in your cup holder, but you're not going to tell me, so
I'll tell you later.
Just let it go.
All right. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.